think we're live. Are we live?
We're live. Welcome to the Cheap Seats, everybody. I'm your boy, Black Erock. And today we will be digging into the Philadelphia Eagles. It's Red October. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on. Mish Koff is doing things. I'm in the seat, and I feel like E-Man because I have the power. And I appreciate you for being here and hanging out with us. We're going to get right into it really quick after I tell you. Some people hate to say, I told you so. Not me. I love to say I told you so. And I told you so about the culture, Nick Sirianni, all the problems. We're 2-2. I feel like we're negative 77, and there's a fire going on. Everybody's seat is hot in Philadelphia right now, except for Quinyon Mitchell. He's the only one that's out here chilling and living a lifestyle that we all deserve to live. What's up, Jason?
Hey, buddy.
How
are you?
I'm Black Erock. I feel good.
I know why you're shooting over to me first.
Huh?
Because when I walked in, and even for me to say that, hey guys, you know how we get down. You
crack
it. You know how we get down. When I first walked in the studio today, what did I say to you? What was the first thing I said?
You called me Don King or something like that.
I said, hello, King.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was.
Hello, King. Because I feel like when people need to, the one thing I will do, I will admit when I was wrong. And you and I went back and forth a little bit last week, and there are a couple things which we'll get to in the show. But I acquiesce. I have to confess, you were right about a few things, and moving forward, I just might have to start calling you King. I'm just putting that out there so y'all know that I have no problem when I'm wrong. That's okay. I pop off too much. I gotta admit when I'm wrong.
Black Gritty, aka Black Erock, aka King. I appreciate that. What's up, E? I'm just like you, but black.
What's going on? I love the fact that we all came in today wearing our Phillies gear to celebrate the start of Red October, but B, I don't even know what, in protest of what we saw on Sunday, and I put a lot of thought into what I was going to come out in here and say at the top of the show and what the message was going to be, and a lot of it just bounced around my head because, like, where do you even begin? Where do you even begin to describe the debacle that we saw Sunday? And all the time that I was thinking and all the time that I was bouncing these ideas across my head, it kept circling back to two words. And those two words are fucking embarrassing. Ooh. And I know that's the first F-bomb that we dropped here on the Cheap Seats. And I know the PHLY doesn't have a dump button and that we're live right here. And you can go ahead and find me, dock my game check for this particular show. But that's what it was. Effing embarrassing. I spent the majority of the offseason not convincing other people. I tried to keep it low key, and nobody convinced me. I was convinced that this team was a Super Bowl contending team with the most talented offense in the NFL and a coaching staff that was going to turn things around from the 2023 Eagles because they won 10 games despite Bobo coaching. Let me just throw some stats out to you. The Eagles are the only NFL team to not score a point in the first quarter, outscored 36-0 in quarter one, only led 4 of the last 13 games at half, lost 3 of them, and opened with 3 3-and-outs on Sunday. According to BLG from Bleeding Green Nation, the first 4 opening drives for the Eagles this year. First game, 3 plays, -5 yards and an interception. Second game, 4 plays, 19 yards and a punt. Third game, 3 plays, -9 yards and a punt. And fourth game, 3 plays, 2 yards and a punt. I was convinced that this coaching staff was going to turn this team around. And I understand full right and well that they were down A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Lane Johnson. And those are 3 dominant players. But what they didn't have in dominance, I expected to make up for incompetence. And what I saw Sunday was one of the most incompetent game plans that I've seen from this Philadelphia Eagles in a long time. Gone are the days where I looked at Nick Sirianni and defended him tooth and nail because he was a coach that brought us to the playoffs his first year, the Super Bowl his second year, and the playoffs his third year. If you take a look at the last cumulative 17 games, we're 9-8. And that's exactly what this football team looks like right now. They are underprepared despite having all-star talent on the offense, and they look like a 500 ball club.
Erock's going through it. You're going through it. And
I'm not in a good place right
We
now.
saw it right in the parking lot when we pulled up. And usually you're jovial and we dap each other up. Hey, let's go have a good show. My man's going through it. He is. And you can, it's emanating from, and I understand why. The truth of the matter is this was supposed to be the get right year, right? The bounce back year.
Yep.
We understood what the problems were last year. We go into the offseason, we address the issues, whether it be on the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball. It was going to be that bounce back, get right, Super Bowl contending type squad. That's what we were expecting coming out of the season. And I think the reality is, through 4 games, it's the same shit. It's the same exact thing we saw last year. Nothing's changed. And if nothing more, now we're sitting here saying, well, okay, I get it. Well, not that I get it. From an offensive standpoint, they were banged up, as you alluded to. It's not like I came out of that game just saying the reason they lost is because they didn't have weapons. Defensively, they were a sieve.
No.
Right? I thought we brought in the Godfather to help get the defense right, to prove to us that it wasn't Sean Desai, it wasn't Matt Patricia. We had some of the personnel, but we had to get the right guy to call the plays. I'm looking at it and where I sit now on Wednesday, and trust me, on Sunday everybody in the city has something to say. And I told you guys this earlier. Sometimes I'm glad that we have the show on Wednesdays because it gives me a chance to calm down, settle down, kind of figure out what I really think. And my opinions from Sunday haven't changed. I still sit here, and we'll get into what those are, but I'm still sitting here Wednesday saying, no, see, it wasn't an overreaction. When I think that Nick Sirianni needs to be fired and they need to move on from him because the marriage between him and Jalen Hurts is over, I still believe that here on Sunday. When I say that defense is a problem, and it's not just a matter of tweaking something here and there, it's that, look, you can even get Vic Fangio in there. It's a problem. When I tell you that I don't know who the hell Kellen Moore is, who we thought he was, or what the hell's going on, because this offense looks exactly the way it did in 2021, exactly the way it did in 2023, then I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. Because I got a problem with my head coach. I got a problem with my defensive coordinator. I got a problem with my offensive coordinator. I got a problem with my quarterback. I'm at a loss for words. And that sucks. What am I supposed to think?
And you know what one of the most disheartening things was? Like, I already told you what 2 words were bouncing around in my head the entire time. And you're right. I haven't moved off the anger that I felt on Sunday leaving New York City. Shout out to Old City Cheesesteaks and Pub up there.
Is that where you were?
Yeah,
that's
where it was.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful time other than the game. But on the way home, how I felt then is exactly how I feel now. And I told you my 2 words. The 2 words after the game and things that you consistently heard from either Nick Sirianni himself or the beat writers or the Philadelphia Sports Talk Radio was 2 things. It was culture, it was identity, right? It was identity and it was fundamentals. Identity and fundamentals. Okay, Nick, I bought into the fact that you're going to let Vic handle the defense and you're going to let Kellen handle the offense. And your words, not mine, you were just going to pop your head in the meetings and check on them to make sure everything's okay. And it bothered me. It honestly bothered me that people would go, well, what's your function? He's the head coach. He's the culture setter. He's the trend. He's the vibe coordinator. Okay. He's the one managing the game on in-game decisions. He's the one kind of cultivating the game plan and making sure everything's dialed in. And we're talking about fundamentals and identity after the game. If you don't know what your identity is by now, let me tell you something. You're in a lot of trouble. And Jalen Hurts can say there's a lot of teams trying to find their identity through the first 4 games of the season, and that's fine. None of those teams are any good. None of those teams are trying to fight for a Super Bowl. None of those teams you look on the schedule and you fear because they don't have an identity. And fundamentals, that's your job, to dial in on the fundamentals. The tackling that I saw was atrocious. The defensive scheme was atrocious. They're talking about, what do you think defensive fundamentals are? It's tackling and getting off of blocks. These guys, by and large, with the exception of maybe Jordan Mailata, have been playing high school ball since they were hitting puberty. So they know how to tackle. You're not coaching them to get the right angles. Tackling is a game of angles. And they're not getting the right angles. The defensive line, unless your number just happens to have 2 5s in it, 55, They're not getting any pressure whatsoever. And my concern with this team is that, listen, the San Francisco 49ers wrote the blueprint on how to beat the Eagles offense last year. And after the San Francisco 49ers exposed them, the rest of the teams, no matter how good or bad they were, AKA the Arizona Cardinals, they followed that format and just watch you just wash away in the wind and out of the playoffs by the aforementioned Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have wrote the playbook on how to beat the Eagles defense moving forward. Because 88%, I'm pounding again. I'm sorry. I'm going to beat the snot out of this chair. 88% of the snaps, they're playing off coverage. The defensive line isn't good enough to get after the quarterback. So right from Jump Street, we saw what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive game plan was going to be. Quick passes. Why? Because the most dangerous part of that defense is the two beasts in the middle. And if they don't have a chance to rush the passer and we get the ball out of their hand quickly, they're not playing off so much they're not going to be able to make the tackle. And if you don't think for 1 second that in that defensive meeting room for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers during that week, the words "they can't tackle" were mud, you're fooling yourselves. Because hey, just get the ball out of your hands quickly, get it to your playmakers. They ain't going to make a tackle. And guess what? They didn't make a tackle. So now my worry is that the book's out on the Philadelphia Eagles offense, or defense rather.
Yeah.
Gee, I'm so flustered.
The book's out on the defense. No, go ahead. The book's out on the defense.
So just take a break for a second. So could you bring up the Zach Berman post from Recycle about that? Because Erock brought it up and he mentioned it. BLG did a good job, but he didn't do all of them. Every single first drive starts off with negative fumble, turnover, negative. And most of those are plays or don't have any runs in them with Saquon Barkley. Shout out to Zach Berman. It's just like you start off every game behind the 8 ball. So I don't even think you need to figure out the offense because you're already figuring out the defense and you're putting up points. We're number 29 in the league when starting a game we've never had to lead. So we're 29th in the league. Playing behind the 8 ball. You can't win football when you're playing like that. You can take that back down now. So I want to tell people right now, I am like, I don't know what the definition is, if I'm a sociopath, a masochist, but I'm happy at how upset that the rest of my friends are because I've been yelling and screaming these last 3 podcasts because I can see exactly what's going on here. We don't have culture. We don't have structure. We don't have fundamentals. And by keeping Nick Sirianni here, you have not changed anything. He can say, oh, well, Saquon doesn't care about last year. Saquon cares about dysfunction. He was a giant. He knows about dysfunction. Oh, well, CJG doesn't care about, he doesn't care about anything, not making tackles. He cares about talking trash. You train 1 or 2 people. Why doesn't Smitty have a C on his chest? And why does Darius Slay have it? Because he's the fun guy and he wants to make people happy in the locker room and he's just there for joy. He doesn't lead like everybody else does. Well, in that case, I feel like you're not leading at all. And that's my problem with Nick Sirianni. You were supposed to be water flowers guy. You were supposed to be the culture setter. You were supposed to be the guy that rallied everybody together and made people feel good because you can't speak with any kind of intelligence when you're talking to the public. So people gave you grace for sounding like a doofus because they thought you had the team. Now, what I want to go to first is this culture. Darius Slay, all in the media this last week. I've been telling you about the culture, how it was not fixed from last year because it doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right. And maybe things would change, but this week shows you that this team is not a team that's together. So you can bring up any one of the things of Slay that you want to. But after the game, when he went on the internet to check his adoring fans, of which he had none, he gave his stats. I'm not even going to put that up there, but he gave all his accolades, Mid-play Slay, used to be Slay. BC Slay and AD Slay, back in the day when you used to be somebody, now you're not. So he gives that whole, and then he deletes it. Oh, I'm sorry, guys, I was just in a bad place. Then he goes on Michael Parsons' show and laughs at a fellow Eagle. I don't care if he said, that's my bad, that's my boy. We hate the Dallas Cowboys more than we hate anything else. Anything else, any other team, any other place, anything else. And you went on a rival in season and laughed at a current teammate, and then you go on the internet again and apologize and say, from the bottom of my heart, I don't care what you say. You have one of the worst player podcasts on the internet. You are sitting in your grandmother's basement sleigh with a bad camera, bad lighting, a chalkboard, and a light-up sign that doesn't even light up, which can't pay the electric bill. You're an embarrassment to sports podcasters. So then you want to go and sit down and laugh at your teammate and then cry and say, the media's out to get me. Dummy, you're part of the media. And not only are you part of the media, you are the person in the basement. You're not funny, you're not clever, you're not intelligent. You are an embarrassment to podcasters. I listen to 5-year-old kids do a better sports program than you. Your camera's whack, you're whack, and you aren't a Philadelphia Eagles as far as I'm concerned. They should have let you go last year, bro. You know why? Because you don't go on a rival's show, which is vastly superior than yours, and laugh at your current teammate. What if you laughed at your little chalkboard behind your wall because your wife only lets you have 13 square feet in the basement? What about that? Let's laugh at you. But, good play, good route.
So, I mean, damn. You two are bringing the wood. I'm going to come across as Eeyore. You over here got puss face on. You're over here getting all hit. Like, I get it, and I'm in agreement with both of you. I'm just not going to be as animated right now because y'all are both in your bags, and that's a good thing. With Slay, though, look, like, I don't care that he has a podcast. You want to have a podcast? Have a podcast. To me, you want, and I'll be honest with you, you want to go have and jump on somebody else's podcast, Micah. I don't even give a damn if you go on Micah Parsons' podcast because I understand that you guys are human beings outside of this, and you're going to build relationships outside of this, and you guys are trying to figure out what your next step is. I'm just telling you I understand it. I'm not telling you I agree with it. I'm just telling you I understand it. I didn't have issue when he told Drake London, "Hey, good route," because from my perspective, I get what those conversations look like and feel like. But I think the biggest problem is that the optics of the whole thing are terrible. And you would expect your leader, you would expect your captain to set those optics, to be aware of those optics, to take care of that locker room. When you have a guy who, because Parsons was going after CJGJ the week before, saying like, who's this guy? Right? He was clowning CJGJ. And then for our captain, who you can blame that on Sirianni all you want, but I believe that's voted on by the players. So the players obviously feel a certain way, again, right, wrong, or indifferent. But if the players are going to vote him as captain, then they obviously see something that maybe us sitting here in these cheap seats don't see. But at any rate, if Micah Parsons is clowning CJGJ, and then you're going to go on his show to knock off a couple laughs, for me, that's where I just lose it with Slay. That's where you don't walk back from that. Because now you got to go in the locker room. You got to face your teammate on the defensive side of the ball. You got to look him in the eye. And what do you say? Like, I wasn't clowning you for real, dog? I mean, CJ even went on X and said, damn. Like, because that's all you can say. Like, damn, dog, you too? Like, damn, it's like that?
Culture.
That's a culture problem. And now you rewind that back to Sirianni because, look, okay, you got nothing to do with the defense, which I will argue that in a second. You got nothing to do with the defense, and that's fine. And you gave up the play calling, and that's fine. But to Erock's point, like, bro, you're the CEO, right? Your job is the fundamentals, the intangibles. Make sure that the team is strong. Make sure that the culture is intact. The one thing I'll disagree on the defense about, where I say he's got nothing to do with the defense, is part of being the CEO. I get it. You don't run the defense, and I get it. You've got nothing to do with it.
Well, stick to culture because we're going to get to defense. Finish your point on culture.
Oh, no, that's
okay.
Part of what he's responsible for, so I'll cut it off from there. But I have issue with Sirianni when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. We'll get to that in a minute.
We'll get to defense.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a minute. And, yeah, Slay coming out. And
we'll round back to Slay for you because I got one more thing to add to from he said.
Yeah, it's not ordinary. But you know what's never ordinary? I'm going to stumble through this read. I'm going to stumble through this read like the Eagles stumbled through that game. All right, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. I'm going to pick it up for you, Bet365, I promise. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide. Bet365 live streams 780,000 events per year. I didn't even know there was 780,000 sporting events total, but that just is a testament to how many things you can bet on at Bet365. Early payout offers across NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB. You want to put some money down on the Fightins? We're all getting ready for Red October. We're all Phillied up. You can put down some money on the Phillies, MLB, NHL, whatever you want. Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting, and today, Bet365 offers the widest range of games and markets available for in-live game betting across 78 sports. 78 sports. Right now, this is the offer time. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Just bet $5. Use code PHLY. Here we go. PHLY. I'm gritting my teeth. PHLY365 to sign up. Deposit $10. It's only $10. You're going to spend $10 at McDonald's at lunch today. Take that money, put it in the account, open up an account at Bet365, bet 5 of it. You get $200 in bonus bets that you can spend on whatever you want. You want to spend it on betting on the Phillies, Schwarb's to hit a Schwarb bomb, the over-under, whatever it might be. You can't bet on the Eagles this week because they're on a bye week. Oh, shucks. But you sign up, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, total plays, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Thank you, Bet365. Getting back to Darius.
Okay. Well, hold on. Let me tell you a little story first.
Go ahead.
Can I tell you a story?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I keep jumping in.
Everybody at home, I want you to come in on here, right? But just come in here. So I started off Sunday the same way I always do, and probably the same way a lot of you guys do at home. And we know what that sounds like, right?
That's the one.
It sounds like. That's how I start my Sundays before an Eagles game. Oh, it's good. It's good. And I'm enjoying my Miller Lights. And no sooner than I crack the first one, I look up at the screen. And, well, okay, Baker Mayfield and company has made their way down the field, and it's 7-0. You know what that means?
Crack another
one. Right? That's when it's going to be one of those days, right? I sit back down on the couch, and I start drinking my second beer. And while it took the Eagles halfway through the second quarter to pick up their first down, it only took me a couple minutes to pick up my third Miller Lite because I look up at the screen, it's 14-0. We know what that means?
Get your buzz on.
Crack open another one. And you know how this story goes. I sit back down, I look back up at the screen, and the Bucs have found themselves back in the end zone. It's 21-0. We know what that means? Crack another one. Same story. I sit back down. I'm trying to enjoy a football game. I look up at the screen. It's 24-0 break. You know what that means? Crack another one.
Uh-oh.
The point of the story is there were a lot of Miller Lights that were consumed. And why not? I mean, when it's great taste and it's less filling, like, who am I to complain? But the truth is, I wasn't happy. This wasn't happy-go-lucky. I was angry. I was frustrated. Because the reality is the product on the field wasn't matching the product in my hand. And as a consequence, these things were going down fast and furious. And
so
with life, there are consequences. These things were running out quicker than I had expected. Now, I had options, right? I could go to my local grocer. I could go to virtually any beer store because they all sell Miller Lite. We know that. But no, not me. I'm drinking responsibly. I stay tucked in my basement. I'm deep in the couch. So I had another option. I could simply go to MillerLite.com/PHLY birds, and they would hand deliver a cold 12-pack right to my doorstep. But no, I didn't do that. Because the truth is, I enjoy Miller Lights when the vibes are high, when I'm surrounded by my friends, enjoying an Eagles W. Those are the good times. Those are Miller times. But once in a while, we are reminded that the only friend you've got is a cold Pilsner brewed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, consisting of only 96 calories, less calories and carbs than any domestic or premium beer. So the motto of the story, the lesson of the day, as we head into this bye week, is let's handle the 3 R's. Let's relax, let's regroup, and let's restock as many of those 12-ounce Pilsner pals as we can. Because we got the Cleveland Browns coming to town. And we know what that means. We're going to handle our business. I'm going to surround myself with as many friends as I can, both human and aluminum, and I'm going to have myself a good time. And if I'm a betting man like my buddy over here, Bet365, I'm willing to bet you are too. Now let's get to the facts. Drink responsibly, as we said. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beers.
So if you're out there and you're not in a relationship and you're looking for somebody and you haven't had anybody in a long time, get you somebody that looks at you like he looks at Miller Lite. And if they don't, then they ain't for you. They don't want you. They don't care about you.
That's a 12-ounce body, boy.
And whoever's in a relationship with this man, hide the beers. Because, I mean, he might be cheating on you.
Hide your wife, hide your kids.
He might be cheating on you. So I want to say this before I drop back to you about Slay.
Yeah.
I watched, we're going to talk about it a little bit, but playoff baseball. There was a crazy dynamic because of weather that the Mets and the Braves, we hate both of them, had to play each other in a doubleheader. They split. They both wound up falling their way into the playoffs. They didn't knock each other out. After the game, they threw on their Red October blue and blue shirts because they're not real Red Octoberers. And they hugged and took pictures on the field afterwards, celebrating the fact that we made it and we kicked out the other team and we were together. I swear before all that is holy that Bryce Harper would not allow that. If Bryce Harper had another teammate that was out there on that field, he would have tackled him and knocked out someone's tooth before he allowed them to stand on that field hugging and kissing and taking pictures together because it's bleep the Mets and the Braves are a joke and we wouldn't do it. So again, you said they're human beings and I don't care about a podcast. I don't either. But you can't do it with my rival and arch nemesis, okay? I'm Superman, Lois. You can't go have drinks with Lex. I'm sorry. You can go do whatever you want to do, but you can't go with the dude that wants to kill me, embarrass me, and slit my throat at any given second. You can't do it.
Yeah, but it's not the same anymore.
That's
I agree. I agree.
But that's the problem.
None of these
it's not
dudes
the same
think
anymore.
that way.
But no, again, it's not the same anymore, but it is for us.
Correct.
It is for us. So go ahead, Erock, tell me how you feel about the culture that's going on that Nick is fostering right now.
Well, no, just quickly on Slay, because this is the hardest part about my lane. I want to defend these guys. I don't want to sit here and be negative and beat up the chair and beat up the couch and be that's just not in my nature. And I've taken enough laps around the sun to know to not fight your nature and be authentically who you are. So if you're reading my mood, if you're watching this on camera right now, or if you're listening to my voice, you can audibly hear me stumbling and getting frustrated and maybe grinding my teeth. Black Gritty will tell me after the show. He told me I was pounding the damn chair after the show last episode. He's going to be, listen, dude, you need to either wear a mouthpiece or stop grinding your teeth. So I am, oh boy, I'm going to try to defend Darius Slay right now.
Do it. I'll join you.
Darius is just one of those, like, I've interacted with him enough and I've talked to enough people who know him intimately. He's incredibly hardworking at his craft. He is a team leader in that locker room. He is who he says he is. But he's a happy-go-lucky guy, and shit just kind of rolls off his back. Kind of like the same that I am. I'm having trouble with it this week, but stuff normally rolls off my back, and I'm happy, and I'm smiley, and I'm bubbly. He knows he shouldn't have said what he said on Twitter. I get it. Sometimes you see enough people in your mentions, and I would encourage you on X or whatever app he was getting pissed off at, it was X, to go and look up his name and look at the mentions and tell me if you were sitting there in that seat that you wouldn't see some of the vile things that people are tweeting at him, which, by the way, I never done, and quite frankly, I can't understand. If you want to tell me Darius Slay is a bum, and you or you want to throw that out in the universe or say all these nasty things about him, don't at the damn players. Don't at the players, because you're not that important.
Yes.
To be quite frank, I don't know how else to say it. Everything's pissing me off right now. Everything's
look.
Hold on. Let me just fight my way through this.
He's got more.
You're not that important, and you're not helping the situation. What you are is eliciting a reaction from a player that right now is in his feelings because he got beat. And normally we don't talk about Darius Slay getting beat. Normally we don't talk about Darius Slay at all because nobody's throwing in his direction. He had a bad game. He got in his feelings about it, and he tweeted it. He deleted it. And of course, the Eagles are in his ear being like, bro, What bothers me more is him being on the podcast with Micah Parsons. My guy, I love you. You've been nothing but nice and kind to me. Read the room. Read the room. If you want to do that, listen, if Micah Parsons asks you to come on his podcast, be like, listen, the optics of this aren't good. It's not a good time right now. And as much as I respect you and maybe even we're buddy off the field, I can't do that right now because my own fan base is going to turn on me. All right? So just, I understand you walked back the tweet. You should have. You should have never tweeted. I get it. People are in your mentions, and it drives you bananas. My mentions get... Listen, if you're in my Twitter mentions right now, you're talking to an empty room because I don't even check them anymore. But we're all human and we're all susceptible to that. He is a team leader. He does work incredibly hard. Normally, we're not talking about him because people aren't throwing at him because he's that damn good. But, like, dude, read the room.
Look,
now.
Here's the deal. So the truth is, like, I want to defend him because the reality is, people lead in different ways. And he said this. He said as much. And that's true. You got your vocal leaders. You got people that lead by example. He said himself that while he'll lead by example, he's more of a guy that when guys are down on themselves or in a mood, he's the guy that's going to try and lift you up. Like, that's what he brings to the table. It's his personality. He's vivacious. I get that because to an extent, in some ways, I can empathize with that. I can understand that. The truth of the matter is, I think that there's 3 different examples now where it's not just, all right, look, if Saquon Barkley holds onto that ball, nobody gives a damn if he's dapping it up with any of the Falcons after the game, but it didn't happen. So he didn't read the room. Okay, that's a problem. While I didn't have the biggest issue with it, it's still a talking point. Okay, cool, lesson learned, right? Well, not so much. You get beat by the Bucs. And you're right. There are trolls. There are people that will go online and they ain't that important and they feel like they need to tag the player. And look, God bless you, not just Slay, but all professional athletes, because I don't know what I would do in that situation if I constantly had to deal with people critiquing my every move, my every action, what I say, what I don't say, how I played, did I have a bad day? So, but again, read the room. Don't go on social media posting your stats. Bad look. We know it's a bad look because he deleted it right away, but the internet lives on, right? Once it's out there, you got it. Fine, fair enough. Nobody would care if you went on Micah Parsons' podcast directly after the Bucs game if y'all won.
Yes, we would.
Or you played well. Hold on, let me finish. Or you played well.
No.
Hold on. If they would have won, maybe you would have cared. Maybe you would have cared.
He still would have laughed at his teammates. So
no,
we would have
let me
had a
finish.
problem.
I didn't get to finish.
Finish.
Right? Nobody would have cared if you went on Micah Parsons' podcast after a win and just kept it a buck and dapped it up and whatever, because it's a podcast. You have one, he has one. But when you don't read the room and you do it after a loss, and then you compound that mistake by clowning one of your teammates, one of your boys, you leave everybody, not just the city of Philadelphia, but you leave your teammates, you leave the organization, you leave everybody in the NFL saying, what's going on in Philadelphia? Did he really just clown his dude? Again, to E's point, it's optics. And it ain't that hard. You could have avoided all of this with just think it through. Use your brain. And I think the reality is he didn't do it.
So he's not a first-time offender. He's thrown other teammates under the bus after games because he went on social media. He does it all the time. I 100% agree with don't tag them. I said some vile, ignorant things, and I posted it. I didn't tag his name. I just called him mid-play Slay and went on about my business because I'm not that important. But I am mad about the situation. And no matter what, it's just who he is. If he's a laughing, joking person, that's fine. You can't laugh at your teammates. Another thing about culture, and then we can get on to the defense. So I told you a pattern of problem that I had when the team loses big games that our head coach doesn't talk to the team. They lost again, and you said, well, that's just 2 times. They lost again.
Yeah.
And BG talked to the team, and the coach didn't. So explain to me about Nick Sirianni.
I will, because I specifically looked into that, and Dallas got it on the offensive side of the ball, said Nick Sirianni addressed the team, and Brandon Graham on the defensive side of the ball said Nick Sirianni addressed the team.
Okay.
So he did. And I specifically looked into that. Okay. And there are sound bites where they both said it because the questions were asked, rightfully so. But both of them, I was waiting to kind of find out, Because again, I was already ready to admit where I was wrong, but both of them said he did address the team.
I go by the first recorded statement, and then after that, I feel like it's PR fixing problems.
And maybe it is.
I go by the first recorded statement. The first thing that came out was Brandon Graham spoke to the team after the loss. And then on Tuesday, it's, well, we all spoke to and Nick came in and said something because of the optics. So again, I'm going to give you grace and say split it 50-50, but it's still an issue. It's still a problem, and it's happening in losses. Again, if the other guys came out and spoke, and I heard BG spoke after they beat the side of the Saints, I would say, oh, okay. But it seems to be 3 games now when they've been embarrassed that someone else is speaking and leading the team.
You're not wrong. And I know we're going to get into this, but I do want to, because the one thing that I can try to provide, I try to be objective. That's really the only thing I can offer. I can try to be objective. And as much as we spent 36, almost 37 minutes now talking about
culture.
Sirianni. Because, well, culture, yeah, because Sirianni is responsible for that, right? But the problem with this team is not simply culture. It is. It's one of the problems. And our head coach, if he's not going to control the offense, if he's not going to be a defensive-minded guy, he's got to control the intangibles. He's got to control the culture. But there are 3 other dudes specifically on this team that are immediately culpable that we need to dive into. I get it. You're going to blame the head coach. I've already told you that I think the marriage between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni is dead. Move on. It ain't going to work. I've seen enough. At some point, we need to acknowledge that 2022 was more the anomaly versus the norm, because we saw it in 21, 23, and now 24. If you want to jump into the defensive side of the ball, we can. Because I've got issues not only with Fangio, I got issues with 2 other guys on the offensive side of the ball. We got to start somewhere. If you want to go defense, we can. I don't know what the hell y'all saw from anything on Sunday to where we're sitting here saying, "Who, Christ, Sirianni's the problem," right? It's not to say he's not the problem. But if we're coming out of Sunday saying, "Who, geez, Sirianni, that's the problem," you ain't using your ojos. Right? Your eyeballs. You're not using your eyes. The first drive of the game, they just melted the defense. Got 6. Second drive of the game, melted the defense. Got 6. Got a punt on the 3rd drive. But you get my point, right?
We started the show saying that, one, everybody's a problem, everybody's an issue. We can go into Jalen if we want to, because, again, I told you that this was going to be a problematic game. I was wrong for the reasons that it was going to be a turnover-prone game. It was the oppressive heat. It wasn't the rain and wind that I thought it was going to be. It was the oppressive heat. And Jalen couldn't hold on to the ball. So you want to talk about Jalen? How do you feel about Jalen? How do you feel about Jalen?
It ain't the oppressive heat.
That's what the broadcaster
You want to switch? Then the only thing I'm going to say.
That's what the broadcaster said.
Because I brought it up, right? I brought up Jalen. And I love Jalen Hurts. And I've said that I love Jalen Hurts. And I'm a Jalen Hurts supporter. But again, the only thing I can offer is objectivity. Like at some point, if you're going to say, all right, I got 2021. 2022 looked good, right? But then you brought in Brian Johnson, and he's going to be your OC, and that ain't going to work. But hold on. Sirianni was really calling the plays, and Sirianni was stepping all over Brian Johnson. So Sirianni's really the problem. And then we bring in Kellen Moore, and Kellen Moore's going to bring in pre-snap motion. He's going to scheme guys open. He's going to change the look and dynamics of the offense. And that ain't happening. So for me, I look at it and I say, well, who's the common denominator? Because you can't blame Brian Johnson anymore, right? You can't blame, like, obviously Shane Steichen is not, unless you're telling me that Nick Sirianni is like sneaking in and he's taking over the playbook mid-game. It looks the same damn way in 21 and 23. The common denominator, right or wrong, like it or not, is your quarterback. And at some point you have to look at it and say, maybe he's just not the guy. And I'm telling you this just because I would do this with any other team. If I saw the type of quarterback play, this isn't specific to the Bucs either, because we get it. They don't have certain weapons, I know. But there are certain things you can differentiate. What is he doesn't have the weapons versus what's a boneheaded play? I don't have ball security or pocket awareness. I missed a read. I missed a throw. There are certain things you can look at in the course of a game and say, that's on the quarterback. But we want to sit here and make all these excuses, myself included sometimes, because we want to protect the quarterback. I think that clock's run out.
I think he's on the clock. Listen, and I've been the staunchest Jalen Hurts supporter and defender probably on this show, right? I'm the one who's going, oh, well, if you take away the turnovers, he actually played a pretty good game. And by and large, there's truth. That's truth.
It's 100% the truth.
Is it?
Yes, you're judged.
What the hell did you watch?
You're judged
Hold on.
judged by wins and losses. But go ahead, Erock. Finish your statement.
Jalen didn't have a good game.
No,
He overthrew Saquon
Okay.
on what would be a automatic touchdown because he was that open. Saquon was that open down the field where if I don't care what defensive back is in the league, when Saquon Barkley is clocked at 2 of the top fastest speeds in plays this year. If he catches that ball, you might as well mail him a postcard in the end zone because that's where you're going to find him. That would have changed the entire dynamic of the game. There was an overthrow to Calcaterra. There was an overthrow to Dotson, who was invisible in this game. Your leading wide receiver was Paris Campbell with all of 17 yards. Jalen Hurts did not play his best game. The fumble, listen, sometimes that shit's going to happen. Like, you got your eyes downfield, you're looking downfield. Saquon got blown, uncharacteristically, got blown up on the block. You're getting people pushed into. You can call a play in hero ball, but at that point, we needed a hero, and his eyes were locked downfield, and that dude just stuck his big old paw out there and batted away the ball. However, there are plenty of other examples that Jalen Hurts, the turnover is on him. So he had a bet, like, and I jinxed it. It was my fault, guys. Philadelphia, blame it on me. It was my fault. Because I'm sitting there watching the game, and he's getting towards the red zone, and I'm going like, you know what? He's not playing his best game, but at least it's clean. It's mistake-free, and there it is. There's the costly fumble, and they could have found a way to scrap back into that game if it wasn't for that. I'm not going to blame Jalen on that, but I am growing more and more concerned as the weeks go by. Can you throw up that graphic, please? Can you please throw up this graphic? All right, this is straight from Instagram. I've seen this graphic in.
I hate this graphic, by the way. I'm glad you brought it up because I hate it.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you why.
Gonna beat it up?
Exactly, I hate it as well.
Okay, good.
Because that graphic right there, I've seen several different variations of it, and all of them stink. If your goal with this graphic is to show me that Jalen Hurts is the same thing as Patrick Mahomes, you simply aren't watching football. You're not watching football. And you can look at those completion percentage the same. Passing yards in favor of Jalen. Touchdowns, even Steven. Interceptions, Jalen's got a low. Quarterback rating, okay. Patrick Mahomes is. If you are looking at this graphic and you are telling me that Jalen Hurts equals Patrick Mahomes, you are not watching the game of football. You are simply cherry-picking stats to make yourself feel better about your quarterback. And to be fair, if we're going to live and die by this graphic right here, I'm going to throw you another set of stats. Dak Prescott, 64% completion percentage. A little lower than Jalen. 1,072 yards, higher than Jalen. 6 passing touchdowns, better. 2 interceptions, better. 93.6 quarterback rating, better. So if you're living and dying by that graphic right there and trying to tell me that Jalen Hurts equals Patrick Mahomes, by your own logic, Jalen Hurts less than Dak Prescott.
Like, can we use some common sense here too?
No, you can't.
Like,
you got to hold on a second. You went for a long time, and then Erock went, so you got to hang on. That stat, and I saw that too. It cracks me up because the one thing, even when you just bring up Dak, the one thing that Dak and Jalen don't have that Patrick has is a stout defense that's coming to save him. That's coming to save him, and coaching. I mean, besides the coaching, but I mean, they have a defense that is aggressive, young, and hungry, and blowing people up and keeping them in games. So there is something else besides that stat. Like you said, it is a cherry-picking thing because sports happens to be more than just a quarterback. Now, my problem with Jalen Hurts is I said that was the worst game I've ever seen him play. And on the internet, everybody brought up the Giants game, 3 interceptions. People brought up all kinds of a few bad games he's had. And he's had bad games. That was the worst game because they needed him the most. All of your stars were down, and all you had was him, and he didn't deliver. And not only did he not deliver, he fumbled a ball where, yes, Saquon got blown up, but he picked the block up first, and the guy was right next to you. You don't have enough pocket awareness to know that this guy is on you. I saw Baker Mayfield get destroyed by Sweat, who is dragging at the ball. And with all his little life, little Baker is hanging onto the football by its nose, knowing that he cannot let it touch the ground. That's what Jalen has to do. Remember they stuck the broom on him, it was embarrassing, and he had to go to the fumble drill, and they asked him about it, he was mad about it. Hey, he needs discipline. And that's where I come back and I say, I'm not out on Jalen yet, because I need to see discipline. Kellen Moore's in there. You brought up Kellen Moore and you brought up the offense. And Nick's 2 weeks ago, Nick said, I called this play. I didn't call that play. I overrode him. I don't know where Nick's hands are involved in this offense. Kellen Moore is Mr. Motion. Why are we 21st in motion in the league when everybody, the whole entire league is up 27%? And we're 5% more than we were last year when we were at the bottom of the league? Kellen Moore isn't getting to run his offense, apparently. I don't understand what's going on. And that's the problem with having Nick there, because I don't know how much he's involved in it. Because, again, we got PR spin, and the Eagles are really good at that. But until I get something that's definitively changed so I can see what Jalen Hurts is and isn't, you go 3 and out because you didn't run the ball with Saquon Barkley? Is that Jalen Hurts saying, I don't want Saquon to have the ball. I want to pass 9 times before I hand it off? Or is it play calling? I don't know. So
See,
go ahead.
This is why Mr. Dirt, my neighbor, calls me Negadelphia, right? Because I'm forced to give you objective stats. First of all, if we go back to that graphic, you said Patrick Mahomes has one thing that Jalen Hurts and Dak doesn't have, and I thought you were going to hit on my point. Bro, he's got 3 Super Bowls is what he's got. He got any MVP trophies? Yes, he does. So you're allowed to go through a little blip here without taking this snapshot and trying to convince me that Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes are the same player.
That's the absolute worst reasoning to have.
No, it's not. He's got kudo. He's got something in the bag that Jalen does not have.
But that's how you get Sam Darnold going from team to team to team, and now he's everyone's dog because he's in a good situation. Sometimes you need to be in a better situation for things to work out for you.
No,
so just saying that the guy has Super Bowls is why he gets the grace. He gets the grace because he's 4-0. If he was 0-4 right now, if that toe would have been in, and if the Bengals didn't get that call at the end, and they got that touchdown, and the great Patrick Mahomes start last year, they started off really slow, and everybody was getting
So
on
let me ask you
them.
a question: If Jalen Hurts was 4-0, if Jalen Hurts was 4-0, and Patrick Mahomes is 2-2, you're going to tell me Jalen Hurts is better than Patrick Mahomes? No. Because Jalen doesn't have the hardware. My man
no one's as good as Patrick Mahomes. I'm saying
that's
the way
my
that
point,
they're
though.
playing.
So that's stupid. That's my point. Right? That's the first thing. Right?
That's a
fair.
stupid argument. You can't
It's not
judge.
a stupid argument.
It is. It's lazy. It's lazy. Carry on.
Lazy. I think we're arguing the same thing because this graphic is lazy. That's my point.
Pissing all of us off.
This is the snapshot view. Like when you get those guys who try to act like they read tape and they take a snapshot of a play and be like, oh, he's wide open without any context. No, he's not. And I'm telling you right now, if Jalen Hurts held onto that football and threw it to Calcaterra in the end zone, I don't care if he got stripped or not. It was a pick. It was a pick. Because you can all sit here and say he was wide open. Wide open. No, the hell he wasn't. The minute Jalen Hurts got into his hop, got into a step and wanted to throw the ball, we know he doesn't have that great of an arm. That was a pick, and the safety was just baiting him, waiting to jump it. So either way, it was a turnover. Now, I don't even know what the hell point I was going to get into about Negadelphia and stats that I was trying to give you because I'm flustered now when you argue with me.
I'll give you a point. This.
Oh, I know what it was. No, I know what it was. Let me get into this. You say you don't have a chance to see who Jalen Hurts is. Oh, Kellen Moore's going to bring in this pre-snap motion. Oh, the fundamentals and the schematics that he brings. Why is he not under center? Where's the play action? There's no pistol formations. There's no staples of the Kellen Moore offense. This isn't the Kellen Moore offense. This has to be Nick Sirianni mixing, like stirring the pot, getting involved when he doesn't need to be involved. Maybe, just maybe, they have to curtail the offense to Jalen Hurts. Maybe, just maybe, you are seeing who Jalen Hurts is. That even Kellen Moore has to dial back what he wants to do. We're assuming that Nick Sirianni's getting involved. We're assuming that, oh my God, this is so ugly. It looks just like it did in 2021 with Jalen Hurts, in 2023 with Jalen Hurts. 2024 is the same exact way. Maybe, just maybe, it's because the coordinator, regardless of who it is trying to work with what Jalen Hurts says he's comfortable with, and it's trash on the football field.
And that's why I much quickerly said. Much quickerly said. That's why you got to get a written this Sirianni, because you don't know, and it's all conflated. You have all these what ifs, but if Nick wasn't there and you had a new offense coordinator, you would know what it is.
We agree there.
So, I mean, you saying all that doesn't even matter because we don't know.
I'm just going to shut up. Why am I even here?
I just don't understand why this shit is so hard. All right?
What
you saw from Baker Mayfield should be what you're seeing from Jalen Hurts. Now, I'm not talking from a play standpoint. I'm talking from a play calling standpoint.
Thank you.
When we have seen Jalen Hurts, and I believe anybody, I don't want anybody, I can't even, my eyes aren't that good. I can't read anybody in the chat right now. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we're getting flamed or not, but this, I believe
There were flames
in Jalen Hurts. I believe in him, but I also believe he needs to be put in a position where he is utilized best. In Jalen Hurts' first 4 games, he has been best when it has been schemed to design to get people open. I remember those passes to number 6, right, where they were scheming him open and it was quick passes. I remember when he was standing tall in a pocket. His best is when he's not rolling out or rolling to. It was when it's read option, and if everything else fails, go ahead and take off. I really feel like, to speak to Gritty's point, that he's been rotating through coordinators since he's gotten into the league. And it has been detrimental to his development as a quarterback, because we are entering the phase of Jalen Hurts' career where we either know what you are, we know what you are. You are who you are at this point. There's only so much more room for growth. There's only so much more room for development. But what you have to do is then take that quarterback, to speak to your point, and put him in a Sam Darnold situation where all of a sudden that offense works for that quarterback. And if Nick Sirianni is getting in the way of that, that needs to stop immediately, because it looked best when he was standing tall in the pocket, quick passes, get the ball out of your hand quickly, being the point guard that we all know he can be.
Guys, I get it. I'm going to say one more thing here, just because I love Jalen Hurts, and I'm not going to say it another time, right? That's just the truth. I'm a fan of Jalen Hurts. However, the 3 of us sitting here and everybody watching has no better like, you guys should get it 100%. If anybody, yes, there are Sam Darnold situations where you got to get into the right offense. Agreed. We're seeing it right now in Minnesota. I get it. In 2019, nobody wanted to admit that Carson Wentz wasn't the guy because he throws for 4,000 yards. He doesn't have a 500-yard receiver.
I'm going to start having Vietnam flashbacks.
I know, and that's why we're having the conversation, because nobody wants to admit what our eyes are telling us. I don't care about anything else. I get it. We want to support him, and we want to make excuses. We don't make these excuses for other players' teams or other teams' players. We don't do it. But because it's in Philadelphia. In 2019, I tried to tell people as I was watching the game, like, I get it. He's got no weapons, and it's a tough go. Carson ain't the dude, and I took heat for it. But Carson wasn't the dude. And I'm telling you right now, as much as I love Jalen Hurts, there are certain things I see that, look, guys, when we want to use the word franchise quarterback, $250 million quarterback, that shit doesn't happen. I don't care what team you pick. Go get a franchise quarterback. The turnovers are going to happen, and they look worse when our defense can't force a turnover, and we constantly lose the turnover battles. He's not getting any help from the defense. I understand that. But you and I both know, if you're watching the game and being honest with yourself, there's certain things that you see where you say, that ain't right. That won't fly. But for whatever reason, maybe it's because we've gone through the divorce with Carson Wentz already, and we're convincing ourselves that I ain't going through that again. Open your eyes. Just acknowledge what you see. That's all I'm trying to do.
Let's throw out Carson Wentz. Let's throw out all the things.
Do it.
They've lost 9 of the last 10 games. So you bring up Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz broke his leg, his neck, his back. He sacrificed his body, and he also had a freaking ego that he couldn't handle the pressure of having somebody else in his team. But he was also injured. Carson Wentz.
He wasn't the dude. That's what it was. He wasn't the dude.
So I let you talk, right? I didn't talk over you. I let you finish, right?
Now we're getting sensitive.
I'm not getting sensitive. I want to finish my point without you talking over me right now, because Carson Wentz was a broken player. He was hurt. I don't even want to talk about Carson Wentz. Now, if I want to say, I just told you Jalen Hurts had the worst game of his career in my eyes, so I'm not giving him any pass for it. Who did he give $250 million to? Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, Goff. Every single quarterback gets $250 million. And guess what? The only guy is your guy, Patrick Mahomes, that's winning Super Bowls, and Tom Brady, who's retired. Every other guy isn't the guy. So until they become the guy, they're not the guy. Everybody loves Joe Burrow. He's 1-3. He hasn't done anything. He's injured all the time. But he gets grace because he wins the Super Bowl. So we're not doing anything that other teams don't do. I believe in Jalen because I think that things can get fixed. Geno Smith looks really good now. Jared Goff got traded away, and their team won a Super Bowl. But the Lions are in contention, and they are moving and hustling. They've changed their culture with their CEO coach, biting kneecaps and all that kind of crap they were talking about. But they've changed their whole dynamic around. And Goff wasn't the guy. But Goff looked really good until they fell apart late. So I don't know if he's the guy yet, because I know everybody wants Nick Foles. Nick Foles wasn't the guy until he became the guy. So I don't know if Jalen Hurts is the guy. I'm not Negro Dominus. I don't actually know. But I know that bringing up Carson Wentz and comparing him to him isn't my problem. It isn't PTSD because of him. Because one guy got hurt and couldn't handle pressure. The other guy sits there and gives his little Bible quotes and doesn't care whether he wins or loses. He's not out there tweeting like Darius Slay or laughing with the enemy. He's out there going to do his job. Not doing a great point of that right now, but he's doing his job. So maybe if my coaching staff went out and did what Baker Mayfield did, I watched the game against Denver. They went and did their normal buck, throw down the field thing. They got shut down. They looked at the Eagles defense and said, oh my God, these guys are busting through the center of the line like crazy on the Saints. We're going to change our game plan to the quick pass. He threw the quickest pass of any quarterback in the league this season, knowing that Carter was coming for him, and they went to the edges where Huff is non-existent, and what's the other guy's name? Nolan Smith couldn't get a whiff. So they went and strategized for the Eagles. Can I get that from my coaching staff on offense or defense? I don't know yet. I don't know.
I think the frustrating part is we all sit here and a lot of people, we in here, outside, social media, sports talk radio, and wondering if he's the guy. He's already proved that he can be. He was within this close of winning a Super Bowl and playing at an MVP level. So the evidence is there. We know he can do it. We've seen him do it. It's there.
He can.
How do we get him back to that point? And my worry is that the current coaching staff, to bring it back to what I said in the beginning, I was confident that if Nick Sirianni just took care of what he's got to take care of, and he left the offense just to Kellen Moore, that Kellen Moore would take this Jalen Hurts and the talent and kind of cater to him and create an offense that's catered around Jalen Hurts. The issue is not whether Jalen Hurts is the guy or not. He is the guy because we've seen it. We've seen it. What I'm frustrated with is watching my quarterback not have good games, play like garbage, turn the ball over when I know he can be the guy because he's not in the best position to win. The offense is not being called to what suits him best, and it's not working.
So at what point, and I do want to say, just from a fact check perspective, because that's kind of the blasé, the in vogue thing to do, you're really discrediting Jared Goff. He took the Rams to the Super Bowl. He's just taking. He's doing the same thing he did in LA.
By the same token, we can't discredit Jalen Hurts because he took.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
I don't mean to. I was saying.
Well, you said, but they took Jared Goff.
I was being sarcastic as a point that's why people say he's not the guy. I'm saying he could be the guy because he was the guy. That's my point.
The Rams said he wasn't the guy.
Yes, that was sarcasm.
And Detroit's showing that he is the guy.
Yes, and Detroit is giving him life again. Correct. To that.
Everything you guys are saying, in theory, I agree with. Right. What I'm struggling with, and again, just because I try to be objective, what I'm struggling with is you either do or you don't. And we did see it. We did see it in 2022. And we all thought 100% like, that's a dude. That's a dude. He's our dude.
That's the guy.
But at what point, like, where's the balance in the scales that we say, like, okay, I've seen more of you not doing it than I have of you actually doing it. And I don't know, to your point, yes, I agree. You got to get Sirianni out there. Like, you got to get rid of him, turn over a new leaf. And to me, no better time is now because you can get Kellen Moore in there, figure out what the problem is, figure out if you want Kellen Moore now or you're going to change directions in 2025, but all that's irrelevant. My point is, I just don't know at what point have we seen enough to make a decision. I feel like there's a lot of us who are just, we can be critical, and you could tell me he's the dude and he needs a change, but what I'm not going to do is make excuses. I don't make excuses for other teams' quarterbacks and other teams' players. I'm damn sure not going to make excuses for my own.
Do you know why you can't say it?
I ain't got my shady rays.
Come on, brother. Get yourself together.
Man. Come on.
That's why you can't say it.
Let me get these.
We've been
seeing these. Let me get these. Well, see, no, and that's fun. It's funny you say that because y'all, or at least a lot of people, are out there with them. With their Ray Charles glasses, right? You need to pitch them Ray Charles glasses. You need to get yourself some shady rays so you can start to see clearly, right? And I don't want to talk about shady rays from a sunglass perspective today because I do actually want to talk about shady rays. I spent some time and I took a look. They actually have blue light glasses, like blue light readers. I don't know about you. I'm getting to that age. I actually have to get glasses for my eyes.
I can't see
right?
I can't see the text.
You can't see anything? Yeah, I can't see anything. I mean, I got the shady rays on. They're polarized and everything. It's a fantastic lens. I still can't read a damn thing. I spend a lot of time, like I'm sure a lot of you guys do, in front of a device, right? Whether that's during the day and I'm doing my work, I'm in front of a computer screen. I'm always checking my socials or I'm on my phone because that's just an extension of my work. So I'm always in front of a screen. And those screens got blue light. And blue light, as I've learned over the years, is horrible for you in terms of your eyes get irritated, they itch, it totally screws up your sleep cycle, gives you headaches. I mean, I even got like blue light blockers on my monitor screens. But I say that because Shady Rays has sunglasses that are blue light blockers. So for me, I've actually looked into those lenses. They have an array of glasses that I genuinely, and I mean it, I genuinely suggest if you spend a lot of time in front of a device, a computer screen, check out Shady Rays, check out their blue light readers, if you will. The same thing as the sunglasses, right? It's a 30-day risk-free trial. If you feel like it ain't working for you, if you don't like them, they don't fit your head right, 30-day risk-free, you can return them. If you do like them, you break them, you lose them. They've got the best support program in the country. I always say it's no risk, and we always try to throw some offers out to you, and exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. I feel like we say that every week. I don't know why. But head over to shadyrays.com. Use code PHLY for 35% off your polarized sunglasses or your blue light glasses. Try for yourself the shades or blue light glasses that are 5-star rated by over 300,000 people. I'm going to throw these bad boys on, even though they're not blue light, but I do highly recommend them.
So I started the show off as Black Erock, and I tried to channel my positivity and joy and calmness. When other people suffer, it does make me feel better. So Erock actually being sad, I fed off of that and that joy. And the show was very calm and cool, and nobody was commenting. As soon as we start yelling at each other, now the comments are coming in, you know what I mean? People choosing sides. And I appreciate that. So if you want to choose a side, choose the PHLY side and become a diehard today. I say it all the time. Get off of Twitter. Get in here with us. Zach Berman's writing crazy good articles. Duffy's out there for you. If you want to sound smart to your friends. I mean, we're on here talking feelings. That's what this is. This is the cheap seats. We can't really even see the field half the time from where we sitting at. You know what I'm saying? We ain't in the luxury box. We in the cheap seats. So we're not doing analysis here. We're doing vibe checks here, okay? We're all the way at the end of the wave up here on the cheap seats. So come on and become a diehard. You get 20% off. We got all kinds of fun shirts going on. You can get behind that paywall and read some interesting articles. The guys are down there in Cabo. I wish I was on the Sixers train so I could be down there watching them work out, stuff like that. The Fly Guys, Mishkov, like there's so much stuff and information that you can get if you just become a diehard and use the code PHLY. I mean, you know you're going to get 20% off. I keep telling you all the time because this is the end of the show. Mostly, we're going to yell some more. But if you're here, you might as well become a diehard because you care. And like I said, the chat don't show up until we start yelling. So I tried to be respectful and do the best Black Erock I could, and y'all didn't care. Y'all want yelling, y'all gonna get it. So let me ask you this, Mon Frere. We didn't even care about the defense that much today. What about Howie Roseman? What about Rotisserie Roseman? Oh, Howie Seasoning. My defense is trash. My coordinators are trash. My head coach is trash. The only thing I got is Quinyon Mitchell. Everybody else is a dumpster fire in Philadelphia. I mean, the PR team is doing really good because they do fun stuff, but I get upset because they're tweeting in the middle of a blowout. But I mean, it is what it is. Other than that, what about Howie? How you feeling about your boy?
No, you're 100% right. God damn, I hate saying that.
Don't feel good, do it.
I hate saying that because look, we started off the show and I'm saying, okay, Nick Sirianni, no dice. Well, who decided to bring Nick Sirianni back? The owner and the GM. Okay, well, they're going to take control and they're going to bring in Vic Fangio to erase what Sean Desai and Matt Patricia were trying to do. And how's that look? No, we're bitching about that. Okay, well, don't worry about it because we're just going to score more points than everybody else because I've got an offensive coordinator that is well-respected around the league. He's going to fix all the problems. How's that looking right now? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. As long as you got that guy, as long as you got that dude, that $250 million quarterback, that's going to erase a lot of problems. Well, who decided to give that guy the contract?
Paid him early.
So you're right, unfortunately. And hey, let's add this to it. Hey, who gave up a third-round pick for Jahan Dotson? And I ain't blaming Dotson because I think he's just a product of the issue, right? He's a result of it, right? He's not the cause of it. I think he's better than what he's shown. But Huff, you can look at Dotson, you can look at Huff, the two kind of marquee moves that they've made recently, and they haven't panned out, and they're suffering for it both defensively and offensively. Again, keeping it a buck. You got to look at the GM. You have to, and that falls on Howie.
Okay, falls on Howie. Everybody pivots their head to Erock.
Rotisserie Roseman.
Put some seasoning on it.
Listen, you're not going to get every move right, and there's certainly been some egregious misses. It was, Baldy kind of brought to my attention and a lot of our attention, like, through his film study and his Baldy breakdowns, you're not using this guy the same way that he was used in New York. As you're treating this dude like an outside. This is a bona fide 10 sack. He did it. He did it, but he did it with his hand in the ground as a defensive end. Right. He didn't do it as an outside backer, and he looks as lost as you would think somebody that's not used to playing that position looks. It hasn't been a smooth transition. The Hassan Reddick thing, listen, it all came out and burst everyone's bubble that you can't trade a player within 2 years back to the original team. Okay, that's fine. The Hassan Reddick was never coming back to Philadelphia to begin with. There was too many hurt feelings in there in that situation, and I don't know all of it, but there was too many hurt feelings with the conversations between Hassan and the front office and the way the front office felt about Hassan. That situation flat out wasn't going to work. Period. End of story. They had to move on, and they had to go find a guy like Huff, who, again, they're misusing. The draft picks, and I know he loves to get killed with draft picks. I felt how he turned a page on the NFL drafting. He stopped trying to be the smartest guy in the room and getting cute and taking players from small schools. And I just want to remind people that since 2020, which, by the way, was the draft that brought us Jalen Reagor in a giant miss, but also Jalen Hurts, that it was Devonta Landon in 2021 back-to-back, Milton Williams, who was playing a big role on this team as an edge on the end position, Kenneth Gainwell, who's always contributing. 2022, Jordan Davis. Now listen, I don't follow college football, so I don't got a dog in any of these races. You could have told me
you got a couple dogs on this team. Apparently.
Yeah, you could have told me Jordan Davis was a 165-pound white slot receiver, and I would have believed you. Okay, but I know that the knock on Jordan Davis was you don't take that high of a pick on a situational gap. You can find one of those in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. Okay, and everybody wanted, who was the kid? Hamilton that went
Kyle
to the
Hamilton.
Kyle Hamilton. Okay, I get that. Cam Jurgens, Nakobe Dean, and Grant Calcaterra. Like, Cam Jurgens was a steal, right? I'm just going down the later rounds. I know we can poo-poo these guys off.
No, I was poo-pooing Calcaterra.
But Cam Jurgens, everybody thought was a steal at the time. And Nakobe Dean, at his position, as deep as he fell, they thought he was a steal at the time. 2023, Jalen Carter was a consensus like, yep, that's the guy you're going to take. I can't believe he fell to the Eagles. Let's not have revisionist history. Even the announcers on ESPN or NFL Network were going there, looking at Nolan Smith fall and going, oh my God, 4 picks ahead of it going, I can't believe he's going to fall to the Eagles. Tyler Steen, who's getting time. Sidney Brown, Ringo. So, I mean, like last year, Quinion, Cooper. Listen, you're not going to get everything right, and I know Howie deserves his blame for some of the choices that he has made. But by and large, I don't feel like this is on Howie Roseman at all. And that's not Erock being political with the Eagles speak. I think there's larger problems inside that locker room and what's going on the field from a coaching standpoint, rather than how he's not putting the right pieces.
I'll lean on that. I'm a big Howie supporter. I'm a big Howie fan. I have been for damn near a decade. We could say he doesn't get cute in the draft anymore, and he doesn't. And the knock on him was you try to get the best player out of a weak conference, and now he's not that he's getting cute, but now it's all right. Well, Nakobe Dean falls to the 3rd round because the rest of the NFL is telling you something like, this ain't the dude, but no, we know better. We'll go ahead and take him. And there becomes that balance point of, okay, well, at what point is it's too good to pass up? You got to go out and get him. And that's why a guy like Nakobe fell, they pulled him where they did. Keely Ringo fell, they pulled him where they did. But at the end of the day, I agree. I will side on you for I guess your take on Howie Roseman. At the end of the day, he's a GM. You need to blame him. Where I will agree with you again is, all right, he'll put the pieces together, but it's up to those pieces to work. And that falls under your head coach. Now, Howie decided to bring him back, right? When you had every opportunity to walk away, start fresh, let's get this thing right, Howie decided to bring him back. And if he's not going to give him offensive responsibilities, and if he's not going to be a defensive-minded head coach, then there are certain things that I would expect out of my quarterback. The culture's one thing, and we spent damn near 3/4 of the show talking about the culture. That is one thing, and that's obvious. The intangibles, that's obvious. But there are things that I want out of my head coach. You don't have to call the defense. I get it. Don't call the defense. You don't know. But when the Bucs are marching down your ass, not the first drive, but the second drive, like, at what point do you pick up the phone and say, hey, Vic, Vic, buddy, can we make some changes here, pal? They're moving the ball down our damn throats. Something ain't working. Can you press up a little bit on the wide receivers? Like at some point, you can be a coach and you can take some responsibility for your team. Hey, Kellen, hey, buddy, you got a minute? Come here. See that number 26 over there? Yeah, we paid him a lot of money. He's a pretty good running back. You think we can give him the ball a couple times? We don't have any weapons on the outside. I don't know why you're out there throwing to Wilson. I don't know why you're trying to force the ball here, force the ball there. Oh, John Ross is called up from the practice squad. Let's get him a couple touches. Give the goddamn ball to Saquon Barkley, please. For me, as a coach, that's what, if you're not going to have responsibility over the play calls on the offensive side, you're not a defensive-minded coach, the least you can do is get in your coach's ear as a CEO and say, guys, I get it. It ain't working. Maybe they surprise you. They're doing some things differently. Our turn to do some things differently. That's where I get frustrated, and I put a little bit of the blame on the CEO of this team.
Well, again, I don't care about the CEO right now because we beat that into the horse. Howie Roseman is the CEO of this team. Jeffrey Lurie is the CEO of this team. And you are scared because you don't want to lose your power, and you bring back a puppet. And then you bring back the godfather of the defense that was broken last year, and you expect something different. And you won't go outside and get a strong-minded difference maker on defense. Then you go and get Kellen Moore. Now, I don't have any kind of negative against Kellen Moore other than he was with Cowboys. I wanted someone who's different, who used quote-unquote motion and all the other things he's done because he has been creative. But you don't change Nick. So you keep your puppet in place because how he's scared of power struggle and someone else having a personality that won't be just grateful to him to have the job. That's why you got Doug Peterson. And that's why Doug Peterson's not here. Most times when you have a Super Bowl winning coach, he gets a little bit of grace. That's why when people tell me, stop being so you can't get rid of Nick because he took it to the Super Bowl. They got rid of a guy that won them a Super Bowl after 2 seasons. So don't tell me what I can't complain about and what I can't desire as a fan, because I do. So the guy won your Super Bowl. You don't give him a chance to right his ship. Why? Because he wants to have things go in his direction, and Howie wouldn't allow it. So he gets somebody who's menial, who would just do what he says. And then maybe this guy says, yeah, Howie, I'll do it. I'm not going to get involved. Kellen, pass the ball. Pass it again. Oh, my gosh. Where's Dallas? Oh, yeah, I forgot about Dallas. Got to pass it to Dallas. It's not working. Run the ball then. Like, that's the same kind of thing that happened when I saw Nick coaching the actual offense. So I don't have someone in there who has any kind of credibility in this league of being the guy. He gave up play calling within 4 games because he coached like a Madden player. I forgot Dallas Goedert was on the team. I forgot that Swift didn't touch the ball but 2 times in this game. Who is this guy? He is someone who, by the grace of Jiminy Christmas, is winning in spite of his own ineptity. And that's because Howie Roseman needs weak people underneath of him. Something has to change in Howie. Everything you said about the players is right. But I still the same thing I said about Jalen. I don't know if Nolan, do you want Nolan Smith covering T.O. in his prime? Why do you have your edge rusher covering number one wide receivers?
But that's our own ignorance. That's our ignorance, because that's a staple in Vic Fangio's defense, and because we didn't know it now, now we're surprised. No, that's our own ignorance.
But we know because that happened last year because it's under the Fangio flag.
That's my point.
We all kept saying, why is Hassan dropping back in coverage? He shouldn't be. So that's what I'm saying about Howie Roseman. This is the defense he wants, and it sucks. And you had a whole year watching it, and now you got the grandfather, and it sucks. And now I get to pick at all your players, but I can give them the same grace I gave Jalen. Maybe if there was somebody else in there that could teach them how to play, or to your point about Huff, what Baldy said, get these guys doing what they're best at. Because guess what? I drive stick. Get in my car and drive stick because I drive stick, and you're going to learn stick. Never drove stick in your life. Good luck with that.
Okay. And just for the sake of the conversation, because I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but for the sake of the conversation, I think the context we're leaving out is it ain't like Kellen Moore hasn't had success running an offense in this league. He has. He's had the number 1 offense. It ain't like Vic Fangio. Like Vic Fangio's 70, and he's still a DC in the NFL. It ain't because his defenses suck, by and large. Like, it's not because he doesn't know what he's doing. The league knows what he's doing. He's a well-respected coach in this league. Kellen Moore was a well-respected coordinator in this league. So I do agree with you that, look, at the end of the day, the buck stops with Howie. You're the one that put these guys in place, and it ain't working, right? The proof is in the pudding. It's a results-driven league, and you guys aren't getting the results. But my question is, why is it that whether it's a player, whether it's a coordinator, whatever it is, why is it when they get to Philadelphia, it just stops? Players stop playing. For whatever reason, you don't get the same results. You don't get the same production. It's not Howie, I promise you, is not going in game day and meddling with the playbook. He's not going into Vic Fangio's offense and saying, I want you to drop your defensive end in coverage. He's not doing those things. So it's a combination, and I don't have the answer for it. I don't know why it is, but we've seen it routinely in Philadelphia when we get these star-studded free agents, or we make these trades, or we draft certain guys that we've got high billings on. For whatever reason, either the coach or the player or the result, the production, it doesn't pan out. And we're seeing it again in 2024.
So you were talking about Howie Roseman, and this is how I'm going to try to tie a bow on this show, right? Because we've been at this for like an hour, 15 minutes of really just
vent session.
I got another hour in me.
And I'm sure the listeners would love to go on another hour, right? But Howie Roseman, to his credit, will correct mistakes when mistakes have been made. And they do so quickly. They make a mistake, they try to move on from a mistake. They make a mistake, they try to move on from a mistake. Here's my question to you as we enter into the bye week, because this is a question that the Eagles simply have to ask themselves. How do things get better from here? Because if they don't get better from here, at the end of the year, Howie Roseman will once again correct a mistake, and we're going to be looking at a lot of changes, just like we saw a lot of changes last year.
Oh, see, look at you. See, this is why I keep Erock around. Black Erock loves regular Erock. I do. There's one more graphic in that chart with all the teams on it and all the things. Could you bring that up for me? Here you go. You know what's going to help out Howie Roseman and the coach that I want fired? We have the strength of schedule behind us going forward after the bye week. We get to play Trash Panda after Trash Panda, and then the Commanders, who are on fire and we're kind of scared of, after Trash Panda. And wins are going to roll in. A.J. Brown's going to be healthy, to your point. A.J. Brown came in here and did his thing. Saquon Barkley came in here and did his thing. I'm not saying Howie doesn't do anything right, but I'm just saying the strength of schedule, Erock. Look at the strength of schedule. I think this is the first time I'm happy we're at the bottom of a list of the Philadelphia Eagles.
The first time you're happy to see a 32 next to our logo.
It feels so good to be 32. What you going to do? We're going to get them George W's. We're going to rack them up. We're going to get delusional. I'm going to fly. Nick's going to keep his job. And I'm going to be crying about it again next year on the cheap seats. Right? Jay, tell me, look at it, Jay. You see it.
I see it. And you just
happy?
Said it. You're going to get delusional. I don't give a damn about 32nd in strength of schedule.
What?
I'm telling you the only way. No, I mean, I know what you're saying, right? And they may, I'm looking at that. Honestly, I'm looking at that. And what I saw against the Falcons and what I saw against the Saints, albeit in a win, and I sat here and I told you there's still things I don't like. And in what we saw against Tampa, I don't care what that strength of schedule looks like. You ain't going to rack up the George W's the way you think you are. You're not. The only way that I think it gets solved, one way or another, and I'm not saying it's going to solve it for 2024, but I'm saying it's going to shed light on it and we're going to get it fixed moving forward. They're not an impulsive organization, so it is not going to happen this way. But I think the only thing you can do at this point is let go of your head coach. Cut bait. It's time to go. And then that way, it's the truth. And then that way, what you can do is you can put Kellen Moore in that seat, and we'll figure out real quick, what does that offense look like now? Was Nick Sirianni the problem, or is my quarterback the problem? Because I'm sitting here telling you there's a lot that they have to figure out. Maybe Nick is the problem. Maybe the combination of Nick and Jalen is the problem. We don't know. The only way you're going to find that out, you've got to make the change. You give Kellen Moore the seat. Let him see what goes. You got 13 games to figure out what's going on. If you like what you've seen out of this offense, if you like what you see out of this locker room, if you like what you see from a results-driven league, okay, now you've got something to work with heading into 2025. If not much changes, well, now you're not waiting until 2025 to figure out, what do I want to do with Kellen Moore? Well, I'm letting Nick Sirianni go. Should Kellen be the coach? Do we talk to Ben Johnson? Do we talk to Kubiak? There's a couple nice options out there. This is his trial run. Get Kellen Moore in the seat now. Figure out what the hell you've got going on. That way you've got an action plan heading into 2025, and maybe that's when we see the change happen.
So I'm really excited to cut you off, and I'll let you go, Erock, real quick. First of all, shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody in the comments.
What's the chat look like? What's the chat look like?
Who's getting roasted? Am I getting roasted? I feel like I'm getting roasted.
You are getting roasted. Everybody loves me. Nobody likes you. Everybody's mad at you.
Yeah, that's status quo.
They love Black Erock. They're getting T-shirts.
What kind of Erock am I? If you're Erock and you're Black Erock, what kind of Erock am I?
I mean, you one day you'll be mid
Erock, mid play Erock.
beige rock. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
You get tanned up. I saw the
Tan
pictures. PHLYChiefseats.com. Follow us on the socials, the Instagrams, the Twitters, the YouTube, the iTunes, the Spotify. We're everywhere you want us to be. But I also wanted to give a shout out. Talk about the chat. The Nando Knight sent us $20 super chat for beers on us. Don't get us any more money for beers, bro.
Let's go.
I told you. Don't do it. No, that's not what we need. Time out on that. And somebody else in the chat said something that really resonates with me about getting rid of Nick Sirianni now. When you, what did he say? Gosh, he said something really good. Oh, Jalen can do the job. We've seen it. Something's off. It's like when you quit the job, you quit the boss. Let's get rid of the guy who isn't setting any culture tone and do what you said. Let Kellen be the interim, because bringing in Bill Belichick right now is absolutely asinine. But we need to see something to figure out what's going on so that we don't have all the confusion. Because we argue so much about something that you don't have the answer to, I don't have the answer to. And that's why I like having that argument, because all three of us are seeing it in three different ways, and there's no real answer. And I know the Eagles don't even have the answer.
Correct.
I know the team doesn't even have the answer. I know that the culture doesn't have the answer. And that's a problem. What are we? What are we going to be? And how do we get there? But shout out to Nando in the super chat with that $20. Me and E going to split the drinks because he can't be trusted. He out here cheating on us with the Miller Lights anyway. So not tonight. Not tonight, Nando.
You said it. We all see things differently, but the reality is we all see the same thing, and that's a problem. And the only way you're going to get that figured out, and I'm not telling you it's going to solve things for 2024 because it's the NFL and that's not really how things work, but you can at least give yourself some direction. You can at least start to figure it out now. If you've got him in this kind of ambiguous position of I'm just going to kind of be CEO, if I'm just going to handle the intangibles, I'm just going to handle the culture, and those intangibles and that culture is not getting handled, at what point do you rip the Band-Aid off? To me, going into a bye, that's now. I think there's no better time than now. Salvage what you can.
Erock.
I've hated almost everything about this show. I love
Likewise.
you guys. I honestly
I love
do.
everything about your hate.
I hate how snippy we're getting with each other. I hate that I'm dropping F-bombs at the top of the show. I hate the fact that I got to be critical of the team. I hate the fact that I feel this disappointed. I hate the fact that I feel this down and it's coming across on microphone and the presence here. And like, this isn't what you're used to seeing on camera and hearing out of my voice. I get it. I don't like it either. This shit shouldn't be this hard. And I hearken back to the days of 6 months ago where I was convinced that this team was a Super Bowl caliber team and this coaching staff was going to work. Because this shit isn't that hard. You have the best offense in the NFL in front of you, right there.
On paper.
2,000-yard receivers. As of last week, the league's leading rusher. You've got a former Super Bowl quarterback and former MVP candidate under center. You've got the best right tackle in football. You've got one of the best left tackles in football, a Pro Bowler in Landon Dickerson. And I get it. Cam's new and Dots, all that. I get it. But you have this team to have this amount of talent, at least on the offensive side of the ball, and still be struggling to find an identity, let alone find a point in the first quarter or lead at halftime, or not have an interception or a punt for their opening drive, is a shame. It's just a shame. The identity of this team is not that hard to figure out. You should be an offensive juggernaut. You should, and I know the guys were banged up last week, but I'm dating back to last year. You should be scoring 30-plus points on any team you want to consistently week in and week out. And you're not. And you're going 3 and out, and you're struggling to put points on the board. You've got a defensive coordinator that was the godfather of the system that you fell in love with. And me, you, and everybody watching or listening at home was watching that first initial drive and knew exactly what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game plan was going to throw at you. It shouldn't be that hard to make an adjustment. We've got a team that's ill-prepared going into the game week in and week out. We've got an offense that should be lightening it up, that's instead going 3 and out and putting a defense. We knew what the defense was from a talent standpoint. We knew what the defense was. This shit shouldn't be this hard. I hate I hate sitting here and being so negative on the team and so negative on the players, but I got to go with what you're giving me. And what you're giving me isn't good enough. That should be the identity of your team. Figure it out, boys. Because after the bye week and you're all healthy, you're right. 32nd ranked strength of schedule, and you've got some dogs coming in here. Not to mention the dog pound, not to make a pun, but the Cleveland Browns, who you should mop the floor with. And then you've got the Cincinnati Bengals and the New York Giants and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I need you to not only win these games, I need to see you dominate. Because if we are going to have a culture that is going to be a Super Bowl winning culture, we better beat the teams that we're supposed to beat, which is a core fundamental of having a championship season. Beat the teams you're supposed to beat. The table is set for y'all coming out of the bye week. Get your shit together, get your mind right, get off of social media, and get down on the field and do your job. It's not that hard.
I think you're being delusional.
Nope, we're good.
I appreciate it. But I want to give him a prop. I want to give him a prop.
Give him a prop.
I know you hate, right?
it.
You hate. You know what I love? I love how you look in Phillies gear. I love how we're all rocking some Phillies gear. I love the headband.
Well, googlies.
We got a matchup now. We got a little Red October on our hands here. Let's give a little shout out to our boys now. We can at least end the show with a little bit of positivity. No,
Go Phils.
I mean, we're rocking the Phillies gear for a reason.
We're talking about the Fightins.
So it looks like the Mets are up on the Brewers.
Oh,
so
here's Philadelphia clutching their pearls.
That's what's going to be. So the Mets and the Phillies, we hate each other. We hate New York. If you're a 4-for-4 person or a 5-for-5, you want to put that in there. You know the Knicks came down here against the Sixers and bought up the tickets, and it was a whole fiasco. We hated it. Well, the Mets are going to try to do the same thing. Phillies fans are not selling their tickets. Citizens Bank Park is one of the best atmospheres in America when it comes to sports in general, let alone baseball. And we get to play the Mets, who we've never played in the postseason before. Oh my gosh, guys, bleep the Mets. Go Phils. And you know what time it is? It's Red October!
Yeah.
And I can't wait, guys. I'm so excited. You're right. I'm happy.
Right.
On a good, positive note. And I got to get this hoodie. This hoodie looks so nice. If they make it in dinosaur size,
Fresh.
I'm going to get it. Have a good night, guys. Cheap seats. Black Erock.
Go Birds.
I did it. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
We all silly like the mayor.